Belarus says Polish helicopter crossed border. Warsaw denies it. Again, we're actually going to be hitting up a ton of stuff today, but I do want to remind everybody, if you have not already, make sure to go over to the website, marfooglenews.com, and find every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. In fact, I actually have we have something a little bit off here, so I'm going to switch this over. But while we are doing that, I just want to remind you, today's show and every show has a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document over on the website. When you go to the website, you will see that you have a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. That way you have a full access to every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. Dex, can you actually go over the first article, and then we'll bring in all of the rest? I have to reload something here.
Yeah, absolutely. So apparently Kim Jong-un is scheduled to meet now with Vladimir Putin in Russia, and they're saying it's to discuss sending a North Korean anti-tank missile systems into UKR. But they're saying only if the Russians give them nuclear submarine technology. So as we've always said, there's a lot going on here between NK and Russia. As we've talked a lot about their past technology acquisitions, we've even seen Russia say, well, we're not sure if we gave it to them or they stole it, but they have it. When they're talking about FOBs, which is fractional orbital bombardment systems, when they're talking about some of their nuclear capabilities and other things. So it's really, as we say, these types of negotiations for weapons and manufacturing out of NK into Russia are going to come at a cost, and that cost is going to be technology that's going to advance NK, and specifically they're looking for nuclear submarine technology. So very interesting turn of events here between the two of them, but it will be no surprise when we hear next year or 2 years from now that they have some new technology that they didn't have before, and we wonder how this hermit nation is able to actually build and create that when they just live in isolation.
Thank you, Dex. And again, I knew right when we started the show, I accidentally had it set up over to a previous show. I'm like, I already think we covered that. In fact, that was on the first. But anyways, I got everything fixed. As far as you guys already met Dex, usually I introduce him in a second here. But before we get into the rest of the show, we're going to do the usual and give you the disclaimers. So we'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. Taking over the ocean, let's just stop for a moment. Long as China is floating, future foreboding. Taking over the ocean, let's just stop for a moment. All right, what's going on, guys? It's Adam A.K. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Also, remember, go over to marfooglenews.com/friends. All of our wonderful mods that are down in the chat. There's always at least a couple thousand down there, which I'm super, super blessed to have all of you here. But it is sometimes a lot going on down there in the chat, and the mods make it a peaceful place, and they are always directing people where they need to go. If you have questions about where to find links or sources or how to call in on call-in shows, then make sure to just ask a mod. They're really, really great, and they're all awesome people. You can repay them by going over and subscribing to them and sharing off their channels and their books on Amazon and their content that they are creating. We are independent. This is a live show, so anything can happen. I actually had old windows open, so as you can see, I was about to cover a couple days ago news. Luckily, I have it all in my head. But as far as the all of the stuff that's going on right now, it is really, really getting crazy. Everybody is talking about the CV, and everyone is talking about World War. These two things, I don't know. As far as the CV, in the next 2 months, it looks like there is most definitely going to be a lot of tries to move this forward. And most of us are saying, like, wow, people just really won't do that again. But I knew back in January when and I think that it got put on pause. And I said this back in January. Back in January, if you remember, we covered this in the shows. We covered that Chinese moratoriums, or I'm sorry, not moratoriums. That's what they created for renters. Crematoriums were over full, and in the parking lot they had stuff. They had literally, like, coffins in the parking lot and things like this, and that's because they were overflow. Back then I said it looks like this is about to happen again, and this was just a few months after they actually did that tabletop exercise, and I said, wow, this is really creepy that this looks exactly the same. Oddly enough, lots of crazy things happened, lots of events. I mean, we've covered 5 days a week of events, and all of a sudden, after AJ came out with this TSA thing, within 5 hours, it was like every mainstream news article was all of a sudden talking about something that we haven't heard about in like a year, or at least, since we dropped the stay-at-home stuff. And then all of a sudden, we're talking about it again. There are so many people emailing us saying that their school district is warning them, like, hey, this is going to come back and this is going to come back. There are people that are, Ron Yates just said that he knows somebody personally that actually has, that makes produces the sign and the signage for all of the distancing stuff. So, all the signs that you see everywhere saying, like, hey, wear this or stay this far away from another human being. All of that signage is being mass produced, according to Ron Yates' source. And then you, of course, have AJ and all of this other stuff going around. And it's like, what the hell is going on? I have to say, though, everything lines up. All of the emails we have gotten lines up with a November timeline, and people are just like flabbergasted that this might actually happen again. Most people, it does not go over their head. It's hitting them right in the forehead, and it's putting them in shock. They just can't believe that this is even a thought. I sure as heck hope that something changes in the next 2 months, but it's looking like there's a lot lining up. So again, we'll talk about that tonight. You guys already met Dex, my internet brother / co-host, and then you've already met the mods. So let's get right back into the news. And before we do, I do want to say thank you. Everybody that's supporting this independent show, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Linda S., Jacqueline L., Dawn D., Jeff B., Lisa H., Sheila B., and Tony D. for being the top supporters on PayPal. I appreciate you guys, and thank you, and thank you. Everyone else, thank you so much for supporting our little show here and keeping us going. Blue Water Ambitions. Is China looking beyond its neighborhood now? So this is something I have talked about for years, and of course the community has been watching this, but specifically my channel, I have been following the Spratly Islands, and I've been saying that these are forward operating bases since they started them, since before they ever had the first building on the first island. They were dredging, and at the headlines back then, I vaguely remember some of the first articles saying that they're doing some sort of dredging project, and it almost looks like they're making some sort of islands. I suggested that this could be a forward operating base. People give me so much crap, and at the time, there was a counter narrative out in the mainstream media that said, no, this is some environmental thing and you guys are cuckoo and you're probably on one of these back-end forums and you're a crazy person, right? And they said, oh, no, they're doing an environmental project, you idiots. Well, then they started having runways. Then they started having anti-air missiles. Then they started having naval ship docks. And then they started having submarines parked in them. And then they had fuel tanks and warehouses and manufacturing factories now. And they are mass producing these islands. And I would say mass producing, like they literally came up with a new technology that could dredge the islands twice as fast as they were before. And when we say dredging, they're taking the dirt or the sand off of the bottom of the ocean with a special suction cup thing on this ship. They're pulling it out, they're sucking it like a vacuum and then putting it in an area until it piles up slowly until they have so much land that they can start flattening it out. And then they've paved it and turned it into forward operating bases. Well, now there's more of these bases that are popping up all over. And Dex, when you saw this, didn't you think, like, this isn't just Spratly Islands. This isn't just the South China Sea. They are looking to expand, and this is exactly what I thought was going to happen.
Oh, certainly. And even things like the Belt and Road Initiative and the strategic deals they do for ports in locations, in strategic locations, whether it be in Africa, South America, and other locations where they can come in and wave some money around, set up some deals they know are going to fall through, but are going to end up giving them power and control. That seems to also be happening quite frequently.
And they're saying that, China's collapsing and their financials are about to go broke, and that very well could be. But if they are, they now have the largest navy. They have the largest manned military. They are trying for the largest air force. They are also building nuclear silos like there is literally no tomorrow. So everything revolves around China. If you haven't noticed, it's almost like everything. If we made one of those crazy person walls with all the red strings tied to one face at the very top, it would be Xi Jinping. And I bet above him, there's probably a few dozen or 100, whatever amount of families that are running this show behind the scenes. They're probably above him. But it seems like they have chosen that country as the successor for America. Now, some people would go, whoa, what are you talking about? Maybe that's the plan. I'm hoping it won't ever come to fruition. But if you look, what they're doing with BRICS, what they are doing with all of this stuff, it looks like an attempt to take the number one spot. If you look at their heavenly mandate and everything about it, they want to be number one no matter what. And whether there could be 50 agendas that's behind all of this, and there could very well be a backwards agenda where the U.S., the narrative is all wrong, and in my head, and the U.S. is encroaching on China, and China's fighting back. Heck, there's a lot of people that believe the complete opposite of what mainstream says about the whole Russia and UKR thing. Of course, a lot of folks are on Russia's side of things, saying that that they didn't have to push NATO in close to their backyard. It's kind of like Russia. If Russia parked in Canada or in Mexico, we would be pretty pissed off about it too. But again, there's two sides to every coin, and either way, it looks like we are getting drawn into a crazy war. But at the same time, there's the obvious fact that China is building these bases all over the world. And again, they only have one Djibouti base, and no joke, in Djibouti they have their one overseas base. But now they are creating these islands, and they are said, and this is something we got from a caller about 3 or 4 months ago that didn't want to go on and emailed, I believe, too. They said that China is actually building these and wants to build them all over the world, and that the dredging technology, that Washington can't figure out how they are doing it so fast. They said that they have literally created technology that didn't exist before as far as this dredging goes. So I think that obviously they are trying to build up their arsenal with the Belt and Road and everything else. They are taking a stab at number one. It says China has built the world's largest naval fleet, more than 340 warships, and until recently has been regarded as a green water navy, operating mostly near the country's shores. But China's shipbuilding reveals blue water ambitions. In recent years, has it launched large guided missile destroyers, amphibious assault ships, and aircraft carriers with the ability to operate in the open ocean and project power thousands of miles from Beijing. This is exactly what all of us thought was going to happen. I mean, like, it's nuts that everything that looks obvious, that, you know, if it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as we go into this next one. And World War III fears explode as China warns U.S. of imminent storm of lethal consequences over Taiwan. Dex, this is like all of these statements. Remember, mainstream is going to shape our view on all of this, so take everything with a grain of salt. But I mean, this is a statement coming straight from them.
It's coming out of their state-run media. It's coming from some of their other talking mouthpieces as well. But, you know, this all comes around the last or latest $80 million promise from our current administration to Taiwan. And as this, you know, the more we continue to do things to support Taiwan, the stronger the words are that come out of China. And in this particular case, using things like an imminent storm of lethal consequences, that's a pretty strong quote to put that in their paper and to put this type of information out. So yeah, Global Times was reporting this. I believe another gentleman, Mr. Wang, also had some statements similar to this, and we'll continue to see this if we continue to push funds or push sales. Now, not everything we do. Sometimes we give things to Taiwan as a gift, and we do that for expediency. We've done that in the last round with some of the military equipment. They said they would gift it to them as opposed to selling it to them. When we sell them equipment, then we have to get our military industrial complex to build it, which can take years, and that happens too. They've got some major contracts that we allowed them to win or to be procured with our defense industries. Those are in play as well, but they just take more time. But the giving of our equipment, which happens immediately, is one that I think China is probably most concerned about because it is imminent.
So what they're shaping here, and this has been happening for years, they have thoroughly, inch by inch, moved us closer into this conflict. And whatever the side goals are or the secret, you know, things behind this, it's like this is something that they're already shaping the narrative, the thoughts for before it happens. A lot of folks don't think that war is coming. I don't see how, when you see everything that's going on with all of the world countries, with the dividing of everyone, not just internally, which is probably by an adversary who is heavily invested in all of our media, in all of our social media, inserted themselves with over 1 million people that are literally their entire job is to be online and to push Ganda. You have, of course, the divide here, which is something that, going back to Genghis Khan, he would send in spies to sow confusion and discourse among people and basically get them fighting to themselves so much that they're an easy target. Once you do go in, you take them all out because they're all too busy fighting with each other. If things really did hit the fan right now, look at how almost every major metropolitan city acted during normal times. We had power, we had everything, we had all of the creature comforts. Look at how all of our biggest states ended up running. You had almost every downtown area and every metropolis across the country with windows broken out, boarded up, looted, all sorts of things during CV. That was during something that, looking back, it was like, well, really wasn't bad enough to even put us in our homes and all of this stuff. But of course, I didn't know, not arguing about all of that, but the fact is, look at how people acted when that happened. Now imagine, after all of this ganda that they've been pushing, all of this divisiveness, pitting different types of people against each other, literally pushing it so hard to the point where people are actually segregating themselves in schools. I mean, like, this is insane. Imagine what happens when the power really goes off. Imagine when you look at your cell phone, your lights turn off, your car doesn't start, and you realize that it's the real thing. Imagine how people would act in an event like that. Probably be fighting with each other, be everybody that was unprepared and thinks, oh, this will never happen. They're not going to have jack squat to rely on because they didn't prepare, because I guess they were a bunch of optimists, I guess. Or they just couldn't get prepared in time. It's going to be hell on earth in the United States if that happens. Now, as far as that, look at the divide in the world. 40% of the population of the entire world is trying to set up BRICS. And then that is just the beginning of it. All of these other countries, especially in South Africa, which just happens to be the home to one of the only overseas base of China, they are actually 40 more countries are interested, most of them in South Africa, to join that. So you're already starting out at 40% of the population are trying to join in BRICS, and all of our adversaries are trying to jump on board with this, and some neutral. And then you have all of the NATO countries kind of backing this other thing. It's like it's literally shaping this World War III the way that they want it. And remember, war will not only make a certain few people tons and tons and tons and tons of money, but it will also be able to restructure power, put whoever they want to lead next, and I mean lead after the U.S., they would be able to put somebody in place. Or if it fails, it would still be a restructuring of power. They could restructure civilians. They could all be high-fiving behind closed doors or at a giant 80-foot table with Putin, eating dinner secretly. Who knows? But it does look like, from a civilian standpoint of view, that we're going to be at war very, very soon. So, again, let us know what you think about this. They are essentially ratcheting it up. China now sounds like Russia on their TV, but they have been doing this for years. All the way back to CV, during CV, they actually put out a national op-ed to all of their people. It was hand-approved by Xi's council and Xi himself, I'm assuming, because of what it said. It had to be. It essentially said that the U.S. created the thing and basically unleashed it on them as an attack. This isn't me saying this. This is all the People's Daily, the Shenzhuan Daily. There's like 4 different Global Times. Global Times, right? Yeah. All of those put out this op-ed, which was syndicated across China, and it was to all of the Chinese citizens that take it as religion. There's a lot of the older crowd literally read these papers as that's their, that's what they believe. And it said that we attack them with this thing. Not only that, it said that we need to start getting rid of anything that is Americanized. We need to stop worshiping false idols on television. At the same time, they said that they wanted to defeminize their men in their country. They were saying we need to get ready for war. And they've told us, they've been straight up about it. They say they're getting ready for war. Xi himself told his troops, get ready for war with the U.S. I mean, like, how clear does this have to be? And then what people in the back of their heads are hoping that, oh, well, it's just for geopolitics and it's all for show. At some point, it's going to go hot and they won't care because they will all be safe. And they will be the recipients of all of the loads and loads of money from all of the military-industrial complex. It's crazy because all of the citizens there that are directly part of the CCP and the U.S. people, all of these folks that are on opposite sides are boards and directors on these companies that are making all of these weapons. It goes back to before I was even born, when like the handful of 4 families were supporting both sides of the civil conflict, the both sides of World War I. These families, they will literally provide stuff to both sides, kind of like the CIA provides weapons to both gangs and says, hey, take out the other one. It's going to get nuts, and I hope people are going to wake up to that soon. However it happens may be different, and I don't claim to know all of it, but from what we are getting here right now, I think that this is getting closer than ever. Dex, do you want to talk about where is the money, the military graft? I cannot believe this, by the way. We have talked about the 9 people right underneath Zelensky, all either getting canned or resigning because apparently they were, buying $1 million houses. They had supercars. They had lush properties and things. And everybody's like, how do you do this on your salary? Heck, the American president, their salary is technically like, $300,000, $400,000 a year. How are you guys, in the Ukraine army on a general's thing, buying supercars for $250,000? Something was wrong there. Even the recruiting in UKR, the recruiting offices that they sent millions and millions of dollars, the recruiting offices just got busted. And now there is an even bigger headache. Dex, do you want to talk about what happened this time?
Yeah, you said it all right there. That's what's been going down. The UKR has been obviously full of corruption, something we weren't allowed to talk about in the first year. Now it's all over the media. And today, or what's coming out now, is yet another firing, and it's the head of the Minister of Defense is being removed or replaced by Zelensky. And this comes because a lot of people in the West, but specifically in America, are sort of pushing back at, like, why are we sending all this money when there's so much graft going on? There's so much corruption and so many people trying to skim off the top and take some of those billions that we're pumping over there. So yes, good to see that happen, but I'd almost question, even like who else? And just because Zelensky's firing all these people, is he not skimming off the top too? I don't know. I can't fully corroborate that, but certainly, everyone else has been doing it in that country, it seems like. So why stop with just this one person?
No, he is heart of gold and would never do that, Dex. All of the people underneath him, all 9 of them, the closest people in every direction, those are nasty people. He has a heart of gold, Dex. That's why he's on profile pics across the world.
Oh, he's such a sweet guy.
He's a really sweet guy. I mean, do you see that he's wearing green all the time? He's on the front lines. He's a normal guy, just like us.
From dancer to president.
He's a man of the people.
Exactly.
I'm only laughing because it's the end of the world. Before we move on, make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/energy. On a real note, this has come in handy for just regular outings. I've used my Flex 1500 solar generator for everything. And again, this is an affiliate, so we recommend it to you. And then if you go buy it, we get a commission off of it. So yes, there's motivation there. Obviously, if you buy it, it would be great for us because we end up getting a percentage of it. But I wouldn't recommend any other solar generator because I have personally fell in love with not only the Flex, but the X2, which the X2 is not really available right now. But the Flex is a modular solar generator. So you hook this up to panels, you can get power from the sun. You don't have to deal with fuel. You don't have to deal with, of course, the loud sound of a gas-powered generator. And it can change. You can alter it whatever way you want. I have used this so many times. I've used this for my tools. I've used it for my power tools. I've brought it with me almost everywhere. Mine at this point is getting beat up. I literally, if this thing gets, I wanted to do like a video kind of highlighting stuff on it, but I have to do it before it gets too beat. I literally travel with it all over the place because it is power on demand. Just the other night, we did a projector screen on. Our friend had a projector. We put a movie night on the side of the house for my kids and all their kids. We were able to power the projector, the DVD player, and everything else, and play movies on the side of the house. And we didn't have to worry about extension cords or any of that. This alone, for being able to use my tools wherever, is freaking awesome. I'm able to pull out a saw and basically I could do it in the middle of a field, in the middle of nowhere, off grid. That is what's so cool about these. Not to mention, you can also charge them incredibly fast from the wall and have that power on demand for when the power does go out. If you, again, don't get panels right away, I'd highly recommend, though, getting the foldable panels. These are awesome systems. This is the same company that's now outfitting the Army. They just won the SBIR Phase 2 contract for their Flex 1500 tactical. This one is essentially the all tactical unit. It's got a steel reinforced casing. It's got 1,500-pound latches. It has heaters built into each battery, so you can basically go through extreme colds. This thing is like all out. But most people would just get away with just getting the regular Flex. This is the top of the line solar generator. It's silent. You can be a gray man. And it is modular. You can change it over the years. You can expand it up to 96 batteries. It is literally one of the coolest generators out there. So again, I will do a video on it, and I'll show you how beat up mine is getting, because I'm literally carrying this thing with me everywhere I go now. Not to mention, I have a smaller one, the LT. I would check that one out if you just want something for your phones and devices and things. That one's much more affordable, and it can hook up to panels. Again, you can actually hook it up to 100 watt. This one, you can actually hook up to 12 panels with the supercharger. So you can be getting 1,200 watts of power into it each hour. That's insane. Not to mention, now they have the UPS. So it is now an uninterrupted power supply with the UPS and supercharger mod, or rapid charger mod. So go over to marfooglenews.com/energy. It is really, really amazing. Anybody who already has one knows how useful it is to have power when there is none. If there's an emergency or SHTF, that aside, you can use this for everyday stuff. Anytime you've had to deal with some sort of extension cord, you could just take this. It's seriously been a huge convenience. All right, that's marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. I appreciate everybody that goes through our affiliates. Again, we are independent. We're on our own now, so thank you so much. And then Russian state TV threatens nuclear strike on the U.S. So we have China saying there's imminent threat to U.S. lethal consequences, and now we have Russian state TV again threatening nukes. It says the Kremlin propagandist has issued the latest nuclear threat against the West regarding the UKR, warning that the U.S. could be in danger of a Russian missile attack. Igor Krochenko, editor of the newspaper National Defense and regular guest on the Russia One channel, which, just want to remind people, Russia One is where all of these threats come from. It is probably the worst out of all of these, if that puts you at ease. But again, it's like their civilians are watching this on TV. Igor Krochenko on Channel 1, where guests have repeatedly called for strikes against UKR's allies, being us, took exception to criticism of Russian conduct in the conflict. It says Russia is being warned and threatened that if we misbehave, or if NATO senior member for logistics Ben Hodges' opinion, we exceed what he considers to be the necessary permissible lines for the use of all types of Russian weapons, he threatens us with more than just strikes on the Crimean Bridge. It says that he has repeatedly called for Ukraine to be provided with all the weapons it needs to retake Crimea, such as ACTAMS, Army tactical missile systems, which would allow long-range precision strikes on the peninsula Moscow annexed in 2014. Krochenko said that Hodges believed that the U.S. might consider strikes on the basis of Russia's Black Sea Fleet and troops in Crimea, as well as strike Russian naval bases in Tartus, Syria. It says Krochenko believed that these were, quote, not just statements of a retired hawk, but also the concerted information campaign, quote, designed to influence both us and a Western audience. While the U.S. is the biggest provider of military aid to UKR, it has taken pains to avoid direct confrontation. I think that's BS, by the way. I think that they have literally been behind half of this, but that's just my opinion. It says with Russia and has made no threats of attacking the targets that Krochenko referred to. Again, I sort of remember something like that, but I think that's taken out of context, the threats he says. But Krochenko said that should be a discussion about what will determine, quote, the use and permissibility of tactical nuclear weapons, what goals, and what tactics we will use. So and another quote says, the most important message we should send to the Americans is that we will not wage war with you in Europe, he said. In the Clement, it says, in response to your attacks on Russian military or civilian facilities, the first strike will be a preventative, limited strike against targets on the territory of the United States of America, he told the anchor. Now, one thing that Foogle fam said was it Derek said that this is somebody who, or he read an article about how this gentleman is actually friends with about 4 or 5 of the most powerful oligarchs in Russia. So who knows what's actually going on in the upper circle in Russia. But again, it's from Channel 1. They have been saying this for 4 years. This is what I worry about least. I'm more worried about some sort of puppet response from North Korea, somebody pulling a string of North Korea, launching a super EMP or doing a FOBS, system or something. But what do you guys think? Do you think that they're serious? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you, Merlin, by the way. Thank you for the super chat, and I appreciate your support. Thank you for supporting Independent. Dex, do you want to weigh in on the Channel 1? I would say that's real fear-mongering.
It certainly is. It's a bunch of Ganda, but it's also something for their population. As much as we're reporting on it here, just because it's sensational to hear somebody threaten the territory of the U.S. with nuclear weapons, it's just as much that the value of that to the people there in Russia that are listening to it.
In response to Krochenko comments, Hodges, the guy he talked about originally, told that the U.S. administration, quote, was, quote, finally realizing that the likelihood of Russia using a nuclear weapon is extremely small. Russia has been threatening nuclear strikes since the beginning. I take them seriously because Russia has thousands of nuclear weapons and because they clearly don't care how many innocent people may perish. There's a lot of folks that are just kind of dedicated to the truth that would say that that's not exactly true. It's not, they definitely say that Vlad's a bad dude, but he's not a modern day Adolf. But that's, again, that's my opinion. What they have been saying in mainstream is that he is the next reincarnation. I think that it's somewhere in the middle of that. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Let's see here. Thank you, everybody over on DLive. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. Thank you, Kimbria. Thank you, Yobi. Thank you, Pocoloco, Sybin, and Chance. Thank you for holding it down on the mod side over there. Dex, do you want to talk about Ukraine? Says Russian drones detonated on Romanian territory. I think we're gonna keep seeing stuff like this.
Yeah, this one's kind of we don't know who to believe at this point. So what happened was one of the incoming attacks to UKR. They're claiming, and UKR is claiming, that one of the attacks actually was across the river over in Romania's territory. Now, Romania came out and said, no, there's nothing going on here. Nothing like that happened. But the interesting question is, would they be saying that to prevent NATO, or would NATO be asking them to say that so they don't have to actually get engaged, because this was possibly an errant missile, not necessarily a targeted attack against a NATO member? So that's the big question. Nobody knows who to believe. UKR said, oh no, it happened. Romania saying, oh no, it didn't happen. And of course, that has huge ramifications to NATO if it did happen. and what may or may not escalate from that.
And thanks, Dogebird. Just put in a breaking story. Firefighters on scene of a massive 4-alarm warehouse chemical fire in Queens, New York. Thank you, Dogebird. And by the way, I tried to catch up. You had a whole string of messages on Twitter. So I did respond to you the other day, among a lot of other people. But I did see... please be patient if you message me on Twitter or any social media platform. Understand that when you message me, it's in a group of hundreds and hundreds of messages. So me seeing it is just basically up to kind of chance. I try to go back as far as I can, but I gave up a while ago, trying to go back retrospectively and respond to every single person. It's not possible. Anybody that does this, they either have somebody do it for them, which I wouldn't allow, or they have, people helping them go into that kind of stuff, but I don't. I thought about it for a long time ago, but there's people send, and I don't ask them to, but they send personal things, personal stories, and all sorts of private things. So I don't try to do that. But again, if I do respond, I don't blame people if they send me one email, then send it a couple days later, send the same email, then send it a week later. If it's at that top of the notifications list and I click on it, I will see it. Just understand, for you guys just see me, but I see hundreds and hundreds of messages every day. So it's really, really hard, because a lot of folks send us breaking news, or they have... a lot of people honestly send YouTube links, which, again, we've asked you guys to try to reserve the YouTube links to something that's yours, or just write out a description of what that YouTube video is, because we don't actually literally have the time to watch every video. And then, by the way, on Romanian territory, Romania is also the country that's been digging trenches. Like, Romania could pop out of left field and be a part of this whole thing. What do you guys think, though? Well, pop into chat and let me know. Speaking of chat, thank you everybody that has already popped in here. Thank you. Looks like, I don't have the chat open. I'll have to open that up. Actually, Dex, can you get me the chat link in Screener? I cannot. I think I accidentally closed it when I switched over to the Windows at the beginning. And then Google AI chief warns genetic engineering could bring deadliest pandemic ever. One of the biggest threats facing the planet is a super-demic, warns Google's AI chief. Mustafa Suleyman is the billionaire founder of the computer giant's artificial intelligence division, but warns it's not robots that pose the most danger to mankind. He says he claims the ability to cook up a deadly at home is likely to become commonplace before the end of this decade. It says Mustafa says that in the next 5 years or so, a kid in Russia could download the instruction set for a demic that's more lethal than anything we have encountered so far. It says he explained that's where we need containment. We have to limit access to the tools and the know-how to carry out that kind of experimentation. It says, quote, we really are experimenting with dangerous materials. Anthrax is not something that can be bought over the internet that can be freely experimented with. The very best of these tools in a few years are going to get capable of creating new synthetic demic pathogens, and so we have to restrict access to those things. Understand that this could also be a guise to be able to put parameters on what you end up using AI for. Dex, did you think about that? How they frame this is, oh, well, they don't, they make it so you can't look up how to do this and that, but that means they're also probably putting blinders on what you can see or use with this AI, which they probably don't have those same blocks, right?
Exactly. And there's all sorts of questions that and checks and balances that need to be in place here. And it's not just about taking away access from the public or from people that may be nefarious. And well, let's just take it away from the public because we can't identify the nefarious people. So there nobody should have access except the elite. Only those people should have access because they have the authority to see it. That's what it sounds like to me. And there's a big problem with that because if tools and technology are being created to make things, we ought to be able to use tools and technologies to put those things they make in some sort of run them through checks and balances. In other words, I could easily see them saying you couldn't use, you know, an AI system to read medical details. And I know a lot of us remember as CV came around, there was one of those things that people were told to get. And it had a little tiny piece of paper in it that was folded out like 18, 20 folds and super fine print, and nobody could would ever read the details of it. But what if you ran that through AI and it told you all the details you needed to know about it? Well, what if they say you can't do that and you're not allowed to because that type of technology would be harmful in the wrong hands of people? And that's what they're saying right here. But they're just using this easy threat to say, oh, well, if somebody created something so bad as anthrax, that's why we can't give access to this to everybody.
But that's BS. That means only a select few would be able to evolve. I mean, essentially, isn't that what this is, Dex? AI is humans evolving, and then say Elon Musk and his select few that would not only have, whatever the implant, my brain is blanking on it, Neuralink. Then it ends up partnering with something like ChatGPT or whatever it's called in the future. But regular people would be limited to what they could do with it, whereas the people at the very top could do whatever they wanted with it, right?
Exactly. And here's the thing. It's easy for us to all be like, oh, well, great. We don't like ChatGPT. We don't like those things that can talk. We don't like this whole notion of sentient, and AI is bad, right? And it's easy just to throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak, when it comes to things like AI. But we got to keep in mind, AI is just a general term for technically for artificial intelligence, but there's a whole lot of technology and tactics and things that can be done with AI that have nothing to do with necessarily sentience or being able to talk to you, being able to solve massive problems, being able to analyze tons of data that's just not humanly possible to do it. Like you could take an army of 1,000 people and try to get them to get through all this data, and it could take them 10, 15 years, but an AI system that could be built with, some pretty powerful computers can solve some of those problems in minutes or hours. So things like that, those tools are going to advance where we go as as a technology, as a civilization. The question is, who's going to have the keys to that and be able to see what's really going on, and who can keep it in check. And it's scary when you put that kind of power only in the hands of the elite and tell everyone else, you're not allowed to see what's going on here, and you're not allowed to use these tools because they're too dangerous for you, but they're okay for us.
Yeah, it's super, super huge bull. Yeah. Teresa from Hawaii, aloha, what's going on? And I'm sorry to hear that. I just saw Stella, Ilea's dog, just passed. Ilea, I'm really sorry. And you guys know we've had our ordeal with our dog. I'm so sorry. I just, they're a part of the family. I didn't actually, up until a few years ago, I never had a dog that I was like, it was family. When you have a dog that's like family, once you have like a special dog that just, is like, wow, I can't. If you've ever had an animal, even, or a cat, that's just like, has such a personality that it doesn't seem like they're a dog or a cat. It seems like they're whatever their name is. It's like, that's them. I don't know. It's pretty crazy how close you can get to a dog or a cat. Because if you think about it, they're literally pets, right? But I don't know. Once you have that special dog or cat, they're more than that. They're family. So I'm so sorry, Aaliyah. And I'm praying for your kids, especially losing animals like that is so hard. But Aaliyah, our mod, she runs somewhat of an animal conservation. So the thing, Aaliyah, I don't get though is how you would deal, since you have so many animals, how do you deal with death of the animals, like all the other ones? My friend's kid, their cat attacked a tiny baby bunny, and he showed me pictures, and I couldn't believe it. It was this big. It was about the size of, it was the size of almost a golf ball. It was so tiny. And apparently he stopped his cat because his cat was like flinging it up in the air. They kept it for a week and a half, and they were trying to nurse it, and it seemed like it was okay, but it ended up dying because it had some sort of internal injuries. My daughter's friend, who that was theirs, she was crying for straight up 2 days straight. She came over to our house the whole time. She would just break down in tears and talk about her bunny, and I just felt so bad. How do you deal with that with kids? Like, I know there's a lot of folks out there that have had to deal with that. I still don't have it down. We lost one of the kittens at birth a while back, and that's like one of the hardest things ever, to tell your kids that the animal's gone. If there's a good way, let me know, because it's not fun. All right, and we're going to talk about high-speed object just crashed into Jupiter. Absolutely insane. By the way, most people back in my generation, they would just say, "Oh, it ran away," or they would say, "Oh, yeah, no, it's in a better place," or whatever. Kids are too smart nowadays. Dang cell phones. Before we move on, make sure to go check out Harvest Right. If you have been looking into prepping and getting prepared, then you've probably looked at freeze-dried food. Freeze-dried compared to dehydrated is almost the complete opposite. Dehydrating does not last as long as freeze-dried. In fact, it uses heat and it dries out all of it, and it essentially takes all of the water out of it in that form. And it's definitely a great way to preserve, and it's a lot cheaper to do, but you also lose a ton of the flavor of all of the food. The reason why people freeze dry, if they have the ability to, is because it's a third of the price as one of the pre-made, pre-done freeze-dried foods, and it lasts 25 years. Once you get a machine like this, I would say, as far as paying itself back, you can pay off this machine. It would pay for itself in a matter of months. It depends on, I think you could do it in a week, depending on how much food you end up prepping, because it is so much cheaper to do it this way than it is to buy pre-packaged freeze-dried foods. You could package and freeze-dry all of your stuff. If you have a garden, you can basically freeze-dry that and keep it for the year 2052. That is what's so cool about this. Right now, there's $300 off on the Pro, and if you use our code marfooglenews.com/freeze, then again, you will not only help us out, but you can get that Pro for $300 off. So make sure to go check that out. Again, it helps support us at the same time as you get yourself something that will be an invaluable tool for prepping. Also, they do have a layaway thing, and again, they don't care about that. They probably don't want to push that, but I would say this. For anybody that has to save, and again, I myself save and save and save, that is a great thing that they offer that, because you can put $250 down, and then you pay for it, and then when you're done paying for it, you can actually get it. So I think that's a really cool option. Go to marfooglenews.com/freeze, and remember, there is a contest right now, so you can actually enter to win one. It keeps all of its flavor, and it lasts forever. So really, really cool. Make sure to go check it out. All right, and then a high-speed object just crashed into Jupiter. So this happened a couple days ago, but we were not on. I thought this was a trip, and some really great creators had great things to say about this. I'm not too into astrology and to all of the stuff going on up there, but Jacob Israel did some pretty good stuff on it. Amateur astronomers often film Jupiter, the gas giant planet, over 300 times more massive than Earth, in order to study activity on the iconic world. In 2021, an observer filmed a space rock colliding with Jupiter, and now a Japanese astronomer has captured another intriguing explosion in the Jovian sky. The event, posted on X, the site formerly Twitter, by an account called Massa Planetary Log, it says happened on August 29th. And it says what happened: an asteroid or a piece of an asteroid or a comet, perhaps a few dozen yards across, impacted Jupiter. When it sped through the planet's lofty sky, it slammed into the atmospheric molecules, rapidly causing friction and heating up. Quote, "It just melts and explodes," Peter Veris, an astronomer at the Center for Astrophysics, Harvard, and Smithsonian, said. And it says it's pretty much a fireball, he added. So what's really crazy, Jupiter is 11 times wider than our planet. So it's 10 times as big as us. So whatever blew up, again, was yards across, huge. What I think is really nuts about this, and there is a side theory going along that we are possibly going through some sort of debris field, and that there may be stuff headed towards our way. One thing I want to point out is there's been a lot of really crazy kind of articles coming out about, of course, all the things we've been following, like Osiris Rex. Osiris Rex is actually going to be making landfall on an asteroid, or it's going to be grabbing a sample or something. And then after Osiris Rex, that same mission is going to turn into Osiris Apex. And it's going to come back, and it's going to catch Apophis as it goes by us. There's like this near window. They say that it's not going to hit, but they say that it's going to actually land or try to land on Apophis and do all this crazy stuff and grab information on it. A lot of people didn't know that, but Osiris Rex is going to turn into Osiris Apex afterwards. But I think it's absolutely nuts that this whole like Don't Look Up movie came out with this eerily similar to what events were going on during T-Man. And he goes, based on true events, ... that haven't happened yet. And now we're seeing almost an exact makeup of that movie, only there's just no information saying that we're going to get hit. It's literally they're trying to go mine a $10 trillion asteroid right now, and they're also going to try to land on Apophis in 2029 or whatever it is, 2030, whatever it may be. So just add in if there was some secret information that we didn't have, and it goes, maybe something is coming our way, and we just don't know it. Oh, and then DART. Why'd they do DART? Why do they do any of these things, right? They could, make new speed bumps or make new homeless shelters or something, but instead they send a rocket and hit an asteroid way far off. Well, they say they're doing it for planetary defense reasons. But yeah, if you want to see all of the stuff here, you can go over to marfooglenews.com and you can find all of that there. Dex. So I have a couple things about Burning Man because I actually know somebody who is stranded now. It's a friend. As long as I've known this person, they've gone to Burning Man, and apparently their family is wondering where they are, and they don't know where they ended up, and they may be they think that they're safe, but they are just completely wondering where the heck they are. Dex, Burning Man, what's going on with this? On top of the flooding and everything else that everybody's heard about, they also had something crazy.
Yeah, well, on top of the flooding, which then trapped everybody there because all the roads in and out were basically blocked or unpassable due to massive amounts of mud. Even the people there are walking through, a foot of mud now. It's been quite a mess. But then out of it, on many of the social networks, there was all this discussion that there was some sort of outbreak that happened. It was, I don't say quickly, but it was soon debunked, or at least that's what they're telling us, that no, there is no outbreak there. Nothing actually happened. And but people are certainly stranded and can't get out. That's what they're telling us. So we have to. We always kind of question when things like this come out. Is there any truth to it or is there not? Certainly interesting the type of event, the fact that 80,000 people converge in this place called Black Rock City, as the name says right there, and it's a lot of eclectic people, a lot of folks in the know, a lot of celebrities that go there, a lot of elites that show up there, just as many as aren't elites but want to hobnob with them. So yeah, all sorts of things can come from this. We pay attention to it, but in this particular moment, they're saying it's not true. We'll wait and see what comes from all the people that when they actually get out. I've heard some interesting stories though, like people in certain types of four-wheel drives just literally mud bogging their way out. And I think I heard, was it Chris Rock or one of the other comedians, I think it was Chris Rock, and another person was like literally riding in the back of a pickup bed of somebody that they picked up after they walked like 6 miles. They got somebody to pick them up and haul them out. So yeah, a lot of people that are stuck there trying to get out. And they don't have supplies either. I guess they bring in what they need, but I don't know if they're running low on certain things because they can't get stuff in and out.
Well, that's good to hear. So the guy I know, he's gone to Burning Man. He also went. I want to say he goes to concerts all the time, and he's the same guy who literally always has a story about Burning Man. He's friends with this other guy that invents crazy bikes, and they always go and they have these crazy bikes. Same guy actually led a bike ride through Seattle where they had a live DJ being towed by a bike, and they had kegs being towed by bikes. So they had this mobile party, and it's called the Dead Downhill. I don't want to say it. The Baby Dead and that together Downhill, and it's actually pretty famous here. But they would literally go all over, and it was a different trek every time. They would have dozens, if not 50, 60 bikes, and they would all be rolling down, and it would be like a mobile party. And then they would stop at different places, predestined, and then they would have keggers and whatever else. And they literally had a live DJ being towed on the back of a bike, and full-on speakers, everything else. I mean, it is pretty cool. But it's crazy to see the stuff that the people do at this. Somebody else says that it is a demonic ritual at Burning Man. I've never heard of that. I've never gone to Burning Man. I've never had interest to go out into the desert, but I'm also not a concert guy either. I'm sure there's some of you that are totally into that. I'm not. I went to the Gorge once, and I had the worst time ever. It was like $50 water, and it was horrible. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Somebody said that they are having the time of a life, like they're all partying because they're stuck. I don't know. It sounds crazy. And it's crazy that it rained there. I think this is the first time. Was this the first time that it had ever rained like that? Or maybe
I don't know about the first time, but the amount was massive, like 2 months of rain in a day or something like that. It was because they don't get a lot there, obviously being a desert area. So when a lot of rain comes down in a hurry, it's just going to be a mess.
Weird. Hey, Truth, Twisted Luck Truth. Hey, thanks for being here, man. It says better late than never. Oh, no worries, man. Thank you so much for continuing to stop by. I'm sorry I haven't made it to yours yet. Thank you, and thank you. Charles Lewis, thank you for subscribing. Chicken Stamps, thank you for subscribing. Russo Prepper, hey, what's going on? Jamie McGiffin, thank you for subscribing. Tosha, thank you for subscribing. And Katie, thank you. Katie Williams, thank you for subscribing. William Sorry, thank you for pledging on Patreon last week. And thank you, Preppermint. Thank you for becoming a member along with Betazette, Alan Dua, and Carl Warpy. Appreciate you guys. All right, Dex, do you want to go over the web only? We got some crazy stuff here.
Yeah, certainly is some crazy things going on. So go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that show notes link down below in the description. It'll take you right here to this page with everything we just talked about, all the sources, links, anything you're looking for. It's there. Yellow bar is overflow. It's the rest of the story. And we got a lot in here. So pay attention. Don't go anywhere. Definitely have some more updates on what's going on in Burning Man. So if you're looking for that, it's there. Also, Elon Musk's dad is trying to defend him. I guess there's a big report trying to claim that he's on drugs. So that's there if you're interested in that. The obligatory. Get this. And this was here in Atlanta. A flight leaving Atlanta, a Delta flight headed to Barcelona, had to turn around due to a biohazard emergency. And unfortunately, it was a passenger who had I guess Montezuma's revenge, and apparently couldn't make it to the destination or to even the destination down the aisleway, and the whole plane was contaminated. That's got to be a horrific experience for
I've seen that on
else
buses, on public buses where they had to switch everybody. I was on one. It was horrible because it's a health thing, right? But
exactly,
we had to get off one bus and get on another. But to do that in a plane, oh, that's rough. Oh
yeah, that's got to be bad. Like I'm just envisioning like some poor person is trying to make their way down the aisle and it's just not working for them.
Oh, don't envision. Thank you for helping us envision, Dex.
But anyway, it's not like we hear that all the time. But rightfully so, they landed the plane, got everybody off, put them on another plane, and I'm sure somebody doesn't have the nice job of cleaning that thing up. But anyway, let's move on. Kim is planning to meet with Putin. We talked about that. There's updates on that as well. Do have some updates on what's going on in UKR. A little bit about what's going on with the Navy struggling to modernize its ships. It's an interesting opinion piece about that. As they talk about how China continues to expand. Speaking of China, somebody actually damaged the Great Wall with an excavator over there. So if you want to see what happened there, go to our website, take a look. The First Lady, we were talking earlier in the show about this CV and it coming back around again. Well, came out today. She has now tested, and it's the second time for her, and she is positive. The current president, get this, is not going to be in any of the locations. I think it's the first president to not attend any of the locations on September and the date of the 11th that's coming up, which is obviously a very big date for us. And lots of times, or every time, a president has been at one of those locations. Well, he's going to be in Alaska to mark that anniversary. Not sure why. Yeah. So we do have some more political stuff, a little bit about what's going on with Trump and some of the other people that are running. So if you're looking for the political things, it's there. And then if you're interested in going to New York and taking a tour, well, you can find out this thing called rat tourism. People are literally going on tours to find the rats in New York because they're so besieged and infested. That's crazy. All right, look. That and so much more. Lots going on. I even put the link to the firefighters in Queens it's happening now. That's also at the very bottom. So if you're looking for what's going on with that fire that's happening in Queens with that plant, you can check that out. And so much more. It's on our website. We put it together for you every night. marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show, or just hit that show notes link down below in the description. It'll take you right here.
And So if you guys remember, the caller the other day called in and said in Indiana that their small town, that the school essentially let them know that around fall break there would be stay-at-home type things. This has been repeated multiple times. So after that, there were many people from especially Midwest. I don't know if it's because some of the smaller towns, the folks that are getting kind of a heads up on this are like, hey, this is BS. But a lot of folks are being loud about this one. They're being told not to say anything about it, but they're clearly saying something. And I think people were so fed up after 2 years of this stuff that now people are coming out and they're just saying it. But one thing I want people to think about is I think they know that this is not going to be complied with. Think about this. really think hard about this. If they know, and everybody's being very verbal, it's all over all social media platforms right now, that people are saying that they're not going to comply with this or that. Is this the purpose of this? Are they trying to cause people to get up in arms and like really pissed off? I mean, there's even folks and politicians on TV, on Fox News and on mainstream media saying, oh, we got to stand up to this and blah, blah, blah. Is this the intended thing? Remember, they do 4D chess. So if they're doing something, a lot of people think, oh, they're just a bunch of dummies and they don't know what they're doing and they're running the country into the ground, all that. If they're running something into the ground, they're probably doing it with foresight of it. They're doing it on purpose, and they're doing it with a plan of what comes next. They have whole think tanks basically simulating and wargaming out what it's going to be next. Great point in a movie. It was a Matt Damon movie. It was the Adjustment Bureau, where he goes up and does his speech, and he's like going for Congress or something, and he doesn't win, but his like acceptance speech, he's like, blah, 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 no. And then he has this moment where he goes, you know what? That's BS. Somebody wrote that for me. Everybody says that I'm, genuine. But he goes, you know what? We paid somebody $7,300 in Texas to tell me what the right amount of scuffing is on my dress shoes, because they can't be too clean because they associate it with the salesman, and they can't be too scuffed because it associates it with the skeevy person or something. My point is if they really do this. We actually had a caller that they literally got paid big bucks to essentially decide what politicians wear, if it's a tie, if it's red, or if it's yellow, or if it's this or that. Imagine they spend that much money on figuring out what to wear for what city and whatever else. You don't think that they're not thinking 3-4 steps ahead and intending and knowing what your reaction to this stuff is going to be? Are they trying to get us up in arms to either do something stupid, or are they trying to cause a civil conflict? And if they are, who is infiltrated that's pushing all of this to make this happen? It seems like somebody is taking the sparker on a lighter and they just keep flicking it, waiting for it to light. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you, Dogebird, and thank you, Merlin. Thank you for your support this month. Thank you, Nana MT. Thank you so much. Barbie Burns Fat, thank you. Rooted, thank you. Tennessee Mountain Girl, Lola Cafe. Thank you, Lindy Lou. Thank you, Julie Pilkerton. I appreciate you. Liz Potter, thank you guys. Kenny Cams, and of course, thank you, Chanel Beveliqua. Thank you for your support this month. Just a reminder, again, Harvest Right is the new one, new affiliate that we have, and I do believe that every affiliate we have is either going to help save your life or make your life better. Again, not everybody has the ability for this. This kind of got sidewinded, but you can also go to marfooglenews.com/prep, and you can get food from My Patriot Supply. Again, that's a great resource for that as well. And you can also go to our website and check out all of the other affiliates there as well. So you'll see there's different things over here. The My Patriot Supply, this one, the Alexa Pure Pro one, this actually has $200 off on a 3-month emergency supply right now. So go check that out. But they also have smaller packages. If you just want to get like a 72-hour kit, if you want to build up one packet at a time, you can also do that. And it's all pre-made and it's all done for you, so you don't have to do any work. It's a lot of work to do freeze drying, but it's definitely worth it. But if you don't want to do that, or if you don't have the time to do that, just go over there. marfooglenews.com/prep. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Have a great night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And thank you to the mods. Drop an M in the chat right now. We're going to actually be pulling that chat up right now. And it's time for a shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Future foreboding, taking over the ocean. moment. Long as China is floating, future foreboding, taking over the ocean. Let's just stop for a moment. Long as China is floating, future foreboding. Katie Cleans a lot. Thank you so much. Susan Big, Cabin Girl, Tiges NZ, Jammer 1. Thank you. Thank you, Rip Curl. I don't know if you're still here tonight, but thank you. Thank you for showing up. Brian Knight says, I might do a late night stream. I hope you're doing well, both physically, mentally, and everything else. I hope you are doing absolutely awesome. David Keller. Oh, thanks. Most of my stuff is not, so thank you. Fade Away, thank you so much. Alonzo, Breck, thank you. I Captain, everybody that supports this small show, I appreciate you. Thank you, and thank you. Sweet Jenna, hey, nice to see you too. Let's see here. Let's do a new one for Merlin. Merlin. Good night, Rose. Rose Powers, good night.